as a child, something about like the idea of being in a log cabin and churning butter I needed that in my life. I just saw a picture of Brendan Urie on the Fall Out Boy Wikipedia page and it jump scared me. I will probably be drinking a soda when I should be drinking water. And I say this now as someone who is a fan of football. Hi friends, I hope you're all doing well. Please bear with me with the lighting and the location for this video. I'm trying to figure out what to do about the whole getting dark at 5 p.m. thing, because I usually film my videos in front of my window whenever I get home from work, but it's dark out, so I'm trying to figure out some new setups and lighting. I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for all of the love and the funny, kind comments on the last video of me and Claire. We have been so tickled by everybody commenting on it, and it was just so much fun to make, and it's just been really, really cool to get to talk about something that we both love so much and to like put our friendship online. So yeah, thank you guys for that. So that video with Claire was actually uploaded on my 1-year anniversary of being on BookTube. So I was gonna say August. November 9th was the day that I posted my first video. And in honor of that, and also because we are almost at 3,000 subscribers, I wanted to do a little like 1-year anniversary / 3K Q&A. So you guys asked me some questions, most of them bookish. We have some that are like booktube related and then some personal ones. So yeah, I just wanted to go through and answer all of those because it has been a while since we've done a Q&A. The last one that I did was for 1K back in like January. So crazy that the channel has grown that much in less than a year. So yeah, before we get into it, if you are into literary fiction, essay collections, memoirs, things like that, you should subscribe, leave a comment. That is what we talk about here, and it is just so much fun. I'm so happy that I have stuck with this and been consistent for a year, so we would love to have you. So the first question is, Cass, what's your least favorite book ever? I have to know. And I went back and forth on this one a little bit, but I settled on The Last Samurai by Helen DeWitt. I have never been so frustrated by a book. It's like genuinely almost 600 pages long, and I sat through the entire thing, had no clue what was going on the entire time. There are pages and pages and pages of like Greek and Japanese. I feel like there's some really like long math equations thrown in there as well, and it was just so incomprehensible to me. I think that it was trying to do too much. It's about this really smart young boy who doesn't know who his father is, and he kind of goes on this journey that's based on a samurai movie kind of thing to try and figure out who his father is. I don't know. I was just like holding out hope that it would make sense, like something would click at the end, and it just never did. So was really disappointed in that one. Some runners up in that category though are Nobody Belongs Here More Than You by Miranda July, but she did kind of redeem herself with All Fours. And also If Only by Vigdis hjorth, which I ranted about in a live stream with Kieran. That one was also so frustrating and really repetitive. The next question is, can you name a few authors / kinds of books that you stay away from? And I was thinking about this. I feel like, you know, there are a lot of authors that it's like, I've read maybe 1 or 2 of their books, and I just don't really have any desire to pick up any of their other work. Agustina Bazterrica is one of the ones that is coming to mind for me, I think because she just published a new book. I read Tender is the Flesh a couple years ago, and I have no desire to read her new novel or pick up her short story collections. Like, there's just no interest there for me. But one author that I have actively committed that sounds so harsh, but one author that I have like actually decided to kind of take a break from is Ali Smith. I've read 5 of her books, the seasonal quartet and there before the, so she is actually like one of my most read authors, but I have just come to the conclusion that I don't really get along with her writing. The seasonal quartet was hit and miss for me. I enjoyed some of them more than others, and then there before the was another one that just was kind of incomprehensible to me. And I do have How to Be Both by her on my shelf still, and I might pick that one up eventually, but probably not for a really long time because I've just kind of struggled with her. As far as kinds of books that I tend to stay away from, just like as a blanket statement, I do typically stay away from like genre fiction. I'm not a big like fantasy or romance reader or anything like that, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit more with a later question, but I am very much in my lane of literary fiction and like creative nonfiction. Next question is, can you share some authors and works that you found in your radar recently? I have some authors that I've recently read that I'm interested in reading more from, and those are Mariana Enriquez. I just read A Sunny Place for Shady People, her newest short story collection, and enjoyed it so much more than I was expecting to. We also have Roxane, who she's been on my radar, I feel like ever since I got back into reading, but I just read her little essay, Writing into the Wound, and really enjoyed it. So she's someone that I kind of have like a renewed interest in reading more of her books. Also, Sarah Manguso is someone that I've talked about a lot recently, but I think she's super underrated. I've read a handful of her books. Liars is her newest release. I read that back at the beginning of the year and I still think about it to this day. I've also read the 2 Kinds of Decay and Very Cold People from her, and she's just like such a promising author to me. We also have another Sarah Moss. I just read her memoir that came out recently, My Good Bright Wolf, and was really impressed by that. She has, I think, a lot of fiction. Not all of it sounds like it's going to be up my alley, but since I enjoyed her memoir so much, I'm willing to give it a shot. Also, Hamya, I've known about her for a bit. I didn't really like her first book. What was that called? 3 Rooms, I think. But I loved her newest release, The Hypocrite. So I'm really excited to see what she has in the pipeline for us. And then for like a debut author, Hannah Regel, who wrote The Last Sane Woman. That's probably my favorite debut novel that I've read this year. Really excited to see what else she has in store in the future. As far as some books on my radar, these are all books that I have not read, but I recently added to my TBR. We have Time of the Flies by Claudia Piñiero. I feel like so many people have been talking about her, and I just recently watched a video from Molly, Back to Reads, and she was talking about Time of the Flies, and it really piqued my interest in a way that other people haven't before when they were talking about Claudia Piñiero. So want to get to that one. Also, Hi, It's Me by Fawn Parker is a really recent release. I think that the book might only be out in Canada, but the synopsis sounds really interesting to me. As well as the Paris Trilogy by Colombe Schneck, I think is how you pronounce her name. I'm unsure, but those are 3 that I am hoping to get to eventually. The next question is, what is your opinion on BookTok hyped novels? Have you read anything from those lists you enjoyed? I actually don't even have TikTok, but the hyped novels get seen anyway on YouTube and other places like bookstores, LOL. So it's funny, I have TikTok, but I hardly ever get any book-related content on my For You page. I mostly get a lot of like fashion and beauty and like funny videos, but not book related. And I feel like that's probably for the best, because if you're talking about the whole like smutty romanticy thing that's super popular on BookTok, I have no interest in that. I don't partake, so I feel like it works out that I don't really get that content. I did post a recent YouTube short that I made on TikTok though, so I got like some traction on there, but I haven't really seen a change in the content that it is like feeding me through the algorithm. The next question is, have you read any Angela Carter? And I think that I have, not an entire book, but if I'm remembering correctly, I think that I read some of The Bloody Chamber back when I was in high school. I did my senior project that I needed to graduate on postmodern feminist literature, which is so funny seeing where we've ended up in life. So I think that I might have read some of the short stories in that collection, but I didn't end up using the book as one of my like main sources. So I didn't read the entire thing. I also didn't like mark it on Goodreads or anything. So I'm just kind of going off of my memory, and that was
solid, how many years ago was that?
And that was a solid 7 years ago. So I think I have read a little bit of Angela Carter. The next question is, how do you know you will enjoy a book before starting it? So listen, you guys, I have so much respect for anybody that is like, oh, I have no idea what this book is about. I'm just gonna kind of go into it blind. If that's your thing and you enjoy doing that, so much respect to you, because I could never. I am such a synopsis reader. I mean, I'll even read some like Goodreads reviews before I start a book just to kind of see what the vibes are. There are certain things that I know that I really enjoy in writing. I love writing about writing in other books, writing about women and motherhood and grief and translated fiction. I know that I really like sparse prose. So if I see kind of those keywords in a synopsis or a review, that's a green flag to me. If I didn't read synopses and reviews, I feel like I definitely would not enjoy the books that I pick up as much. So I'm very committed to that kind of practice. Next question is, are you pro or anti background noise / music while reading? What's your ideal vibe? So if I'm reading on my couch, I will usually put on one of the like lo-fi beats, like ambiance videos on YouTube on my TV, just to have something in the background. If I'm reading in bed, I will just be in silence with like my fan in the background. Other than that, it depends. Like if I'm in public reading, it just depends on the location. Sometimes it might be better for me to put in my headphones and have something kind of going in the background. Sometimes it might be better to just have the background noise of my surroundings. And then kind of related, do you like to snack while you read? What's your favorite reading beverage? I'll have a snack sometimes. If it's something that's like easy to eat one-handed, I can get down with that, but I don't tend to read while I'm like eating a meal or anything that like requires a fork and a knife. As far as my favorite beverage, I recently, in like the past couple months, I've been making more of an effort to kind of take it slow on my weekend mornings, and I will sit in bed with a coffee and a book and just like get in some solid uninterrupted reading time. Beyond the morning, like later on in the day, I'm a soda drinker. So I will probably be drinking a soda when I should be drinking water. Next question. I really like this question. It says, how do you decide what book to purchase versus borrow from the library? And I've tried this past year, I would say, to get better about like, if I'm in the bookstore and I see a book that I want to buy, I will hop on my library's website real quick and see if they have it available. And if they do, I try and use that as like a deterrent from buying the book, because I can just request it at the library. But honestly, a lot of the time, like I get so excited when I go to the bookstore. So if I see something that to me feels like rare, that I've like never seen in person, or something that I'm just like super excited about, I will probably buy it. I will say the self-restraint has gotten a lot better recently. One of the books that I did get from the library because I was really unsure if I was gonna like it or not was All Fours by Miranda July. Like I said earlier, I really did not like her short story collection, so I was like, I'm not gonna buy the hardcover of her new novel because I might not like it. I did end up actually really enjoying it, so it all worked out in the end. But yeah, I find that it's good to get like newer releases from the library too, because you don't have to spend the money on the hardcover if you do that. Next question is, what is your favorite way to read books, ebook, print, audio, etc.? I don't know if there are any other like formats that I can think of, but in order it would be print, then ebook, then audiobook. I mean, I have two like tall full bookshelves with print books on them. I love to collect them, and it really is just my preferred method of reading. As far as ebooks go, I really like using Everand, and I use my NetGalley app on my little like e-reader. And so if a book's available that way, great, I will read it on there. I really like the e-reader that I have. It is the Books, Boox, Poke for Light, I believe. And it's nice because you can use any like Android compatible apps on it. So like you can't use Everand on your Kindle, or I think on the Kobo too, but you can use it on the books. So since that's like my main e-reading app, I specifically chose that e-reader. I have though given up completely with audiobooks. My like information retention with an audiobook, non-existent. It's actually kind of like scary. I tried listening to, I think it was the third Hunger Games book on audio last winter, and I kept having to just like re-listen to parts of it, and I ended up just going back and reading the full print book because I just could not grasp what was going on. Even if I'm like not really actively doing something else while I'm listening to an audiobook, like I think that I was trying to listen to the Hunger Games one while I was driving, and I just can't focus completely. Next question is, what was your favorite author event that you've been to? And if I'm remembering correctly, I've been to two so far through White Whale Bookstore here in Pittsburgh. I saw Elif Batuman and Michael Cunningham speak at two different events. I am more familiar and I have enjoyed Elif's work more, so that was a highlight for me. And that also happened right after my dog passed away, so it was kind of like one of the bright spots in that time in my life, and I remember just being super excited for it. I got to meet her and get my copy of Either Or signed, so that was just like really special. The Idiot was one of the books that got me back into reading a couple years ago, so super cool to meet her. Michael Cunningham's event was really funny though. Me and Claire were like cracking up because he was talking about Instagram, and he's like, oh yeah, like I love scrolling through Instagram and seeing when people post a picture of their lasagna, like I don't know, it was really funny. He also signed our books, and he signed them with the wrong year. So I think that event was in December of 2023, and I think that he signed it December of 2024, and we were like, oh my god, he's a time traveler. So yeah, I don't know, it was funny. I really enjoyed The Hours by him, but I haven't read any other books of his, including Day, which is the novel that the event was for. Next question is, what were your childhood favorites? I'm assuming that this is in reference to books, and the very first answer that pops into my brain is Little House on the Prairie. Obviously there's some problematic elements, the treatment of Native Americans and Black people, not great in those books. But I just, as a child, something about like the idea of being in a log cabin and churning butter was I needed that in my life. I loved it so much, to the extent that I referred to my dad as Pa for a while, because that's what they called the dad in Little House on the Prairie, and I like wholeheartedly called my father Pa. Other ones that come to mind are Spiderwick Chronicles. It's about like magical creatures, and they had this like field guide that was illustrated and had all of this information about all of these creatures. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I took it to school with me and was like showing people as if we were going to come across these creatures during recess or something. I also asked for Arthur's Halloween. Shout out to Arthur Reed. By far one of my favorite children's shows. Arthur, love him. I asked for Arthur's Halloween for Christmas when I was like 5, and my family thought that that was the funniest thing ever. I don't know why. I guess because it was a Halloween book and I wanted it for Christmas. Also, the Magic Treehouse series and Junie B. Jones are the others that like really stick out to me. I feel like my hands are so much more visible in this setup than normal, and it feels awkward. Next is, can you tell the places you look up on the internet to find book recommendations? I really don't do anything super special in this regard. I follow people on Instagram, obviously on YouTube, and Goodreads, and so I see things that people are talking about online there. I have been trying to make more of an effort to like proactively browse on NetGalley as well. Typically with NetGalley, I will just go in and request a book whenever I hear about it from another part of the internet, but I'm trying to go in and like browse what's been recently added, just so I kind of have a jump on any upcoming releases. Then we have, what has changed in your reading habits and in your reading experience? I have been gravitating this year towards reading fewer books at a time, preferably one book at a time if possible. I say, as I'm currently reading 3 books. I find that really putting all or most of my focus into one book has been so helpful for like my understanding and for being able to speak about the book afterwards. And yeah, I don't know, I just find that I feel like I'm getting through books quicker because of it, and just having a better time with them. I feel like I have less like decision fatigue whenever I sit down to read. It's like, okay, I know that I'm going to pick up this book. I don't have to like make a choice between a bunch of different things that I have going on. Another thing that has kind of been changing for me is really just taking the time to fully like write out reviews of the books that I read. If you don't know, I talk about the books that I read in my monthly wrap-ups here, obviously, but I also post those reviews to Goodreads and Storygraph and Instagram. So I have to sit down and like fully write out my thoughts on the book. And in the past, I would just kind of throw a star rating on a book, maybe write a sentence or 2 about it, but I would just move on really quickly after finishing. And I feel like taking that time to like pause and reflect has been super helpful, super enriching for my experience as a reader. I also got a couple questions that are actually going to be like the topics of future videos, so keep an eye out. I got a couple questions about like my all-time favorite books. What's a favorite book that you think many people don't know about? What's a book that feels like it was made perfectly for you? I plan on doing like a favorite books of all time video. As much as it's gonna pain me to narrow things down, I am going to give it my best shot. So stay tuned for that. And then someone also asked about my plans for the 2025 year as far as like reading goes, as well as any upcoming releases that you are particularly looking forward to. So last year I did like just a little casual chat about reading plans for the new year. I think I'm gonna do that again. And then I am curating a list of 2025 releases to talk about. The proactive NetGalley browsing has done me good. I've found a lot of stuff that probably would not have come onto my radar otherwise. So I will be talking about those shortly. So those were all of the strictly book related questions. I have a couple that are about YouTube specifically. The first one being, any advice to people who want to start their own booktube channel? And I think that I got a similar question in my first Q&A, and I was like, just do it, which I stand by that. But now that I've been doing it for a year, I feel like I have some more like insight into the whole thing. I would say that consistency is really key. I personally have been sticking to a schedule of 1 video per week for the past year. I think I've missed maybe 2 or 3 weeks in that time frame. Obviously, everybody has different lives, different things going on, so you might not have the capacity to do 1 video a week. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. But I think that the more often you're able to put yourself out there, even if it's just uploading at the same time and on the same day, and kind of having a schedule like that, I think that that is really, really important. I think that your videos get picked up by the algorithm more whenever you do that. And I also just think that it's a good practice, like if you want to keep yourself in the game. I find that like whenever I've pre-filmed videos and I don't have to film things for a couple weeks, which like doesn't happen very often, but if I have some time away from it, I find it really difficult to get back into it. So I like to just really stick to that weekly schedule. Also, I think being true to yourself and reading what truly interests you is so important. I feel like there's kind of this pressure to read the most popular books or read a certain genre, or like read controversial books that are getting a lot of buzz. And if that's your thing and you genuinely enjoy doing that, then great. But if it's not, like you can still find community with people that like the same things as you. I feel like your videos will find their way to the correct audience, and no matter what you're reading, there are going to be people out there that want to have a discussion about it. So you'll find your kind of niche. Just stick with what you enjoy, like truly. I think that you'll be a lot happier for it if you don't try and change your tastes. And then speaking of that community, I think that like interacting is also so important. I always mention in my like little introductory spiel that I love chatting with everybody in the comments, and I really do. Like, I get so excited whenever I see that I have a new comment in YouTube Studio. It's so cool to be able to give my opinions and then get other people's opinions in turn and get their recommendations. And like there are people that comment who, one, I've watched their videos for a couple of years now, and they're now watching mine, which is like crazy. And then there are other people who it's like I never would have had a way to interact with them otherwise if I didn't post these videos. So I think responding to people, also if they're people that you enjoy watching, leaving comments on their videos, sharing people's videos, that is just like such a good way to find your people. And I think that it makes the booktube experience much richer. My last piece of advice is that you can go a really long way without fancy equipment or software. I have purchased a tripod and a little microphone that I actually can't even use right now because the tip of my phone charger broke off inside of my phone, so I can't plug anything into my phone. So I can't use my microphone, but I just have my phone on the tripod. I'm using the front camera too, which is kind of a choice. I always use the front camera. And I just edit my videos literally on the iMovie app that like comes with the iPhone. I use a little bit of Canva here and there to add in like text and graphics and stuff, but I have only spent like $50 for a tripod and a microphone. You don't have to purchase like a fancy camera. If you want to, great, but it's definitely not necessary. Next booktube question is, who are some of your favorite booktubers currently making videos? I love this question, but it also stresses me out because I worry that I'm gonna leave someone out if I just start like listing names. So I actually went ahead and made a public playlist that I will link here. It should be like on my channel page as well, but I put together a playlist of videos from book creators that I love watching, and I want to like add to it as I find other people. I really love my subscription feed and the people that I watch on a regular basis and want to spread the love. So yeah, definitely check out that playlist and check out all of those creators. Someone else asked, what's your favorite type of video to make? I have really enjoyed making, I don't really know a good way to like describe them. I have them in a playlist titled reading lists, but like my memoir recommendations video, my essay collection recommendations video, women in translation, shorty September, like these videos where I'm curating a list of books that revolve around like a certain theme or that are a certain genre, and talking about all of those. I really like making those. If there's any themes or genres that you want to see in the future, let me know. I think that they're useful to people for like quite a long period of time, so I hope that they can kind of be like resources for people. I also really love doing my wrap-ups and just having a snapshot of my reading for the month and all of my thoughts on all of the books in one place. That's really like cool to me. I really like the concept of that. Okay, on to our last couple questions, which are personal or just like not book related. Someone asked, what do you do for work? I am the marketing manager at a healthcare staffing company. I've been there for 3.5 years. It's my first job out of college. I went to school for marketing, so it's in my field, and I have a really great team, and yeah, it's good. Someone else asked, what are your favorite podcasts? I am a notoriously terrible podcast listener, but I do have some that I try to keep up with. Specifically The Bald and the Beautiful with Trixie and Katya. I do listen to that, especially if it's both Trixie and Katya, if it's not like a guest episode. I do listen to those and like watch them on YouTube all the way through. And then So True with Caleb Heron. He, I think, is one of the funniest people ever. I was getting like clips on TikTok from his podcast and just cracking up at them. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna actually listen to it. And I have watched many of those episodes all of the way through. I also will occasionally tune into the Broski Report in the Basement Yard, but those, it's more like clips on TikTok that I'll watch than like full-length episodes. But I also think that they are all, Brittany and Joe and Frankie are hilarious. As far as book-related podcasts go, Reading the Room by Jalen, The Bar and the Bookcase. Have to shout him out here in the pod on here, hoping, fingers crossed, that it makes a comeback soon. And I've also listened to Literary Friction and Thresholds. They've had some authors that are up my alley on there. And then the last question is from Claire. And she said that I did a Paramore ranking in my 1K Q&A, so it is now time to do a Fall Out Boy album ranking. And that's that's hard. And I didn't think about my answer to this beforehand, so yeah, we have to figure it out. I want to give you my ranking from least favorite to favorite, so I'm doing some organizing of my thoughts here. If you didn't know, Fall Out Boy is my favorite band of all time, with Paramore coming in at a close second. Me and Claire went to see them together back in March, and the one and only Pete Wentz ran past us after his Dance Dance bass solo, and it was the craziest moment of my life. I love them so much. Like, you guys don't even understand. I can't verbalize it.
question of the whole Q&A.
I just saw a picture of Brendan Urie on the Fall Out Boy Wikipedia page and it jump scared me. Okay, I figured it out. Coming in at the bottom at number 8, Mania. This album has some bangers on it. And I literally can't remember the name. The Last of the Real Ones, great song, love it. Patrick Stump is serving vocals on Church and Heaven's Gate. I don't love the like jock rock kind of like, and I say this now as someone who is a fan of football, I don't like the songs that sound like they were made to be played at a sporting event, like Champion. And I don't love the super like electronic vibes of this album. So that's coming in at the bottom for me. And then number 7, we have American Beauty, American Psycho. This album is just like fine to me. It came out while I was in high school and I really liked it then, but it's like I will skip some of the songs if they come on shuffle when I'm just like listening to music. Like the songs aren't bad, but like none of them are in my top 5 or even 10 favorite Fall Out Boy songs, so I just don't really care for that one. Number 6, we're gonna say Save Rock and Roll. Are we? Yeah, Save Rock and Roll. This album is special to me because it was the first album that they released after their hiatus, and it was also the first album where I was a fan of theirs, so I was there when it was released and I saw them when they went on tour for it, and that was like really exciting. It holds a special place in my heart because of that. I also love Miss Missing You, and I will cry when they play Save Rock and Roll live. It gets me every time. When Patrick Stump does his little like Elton John voice, it brings a tear to the eye. Number 5, Take This to Your Grave. A classic, a pop punk classic. I mean, they really truly were the blueprint with that one. I do have some songs from that album that are like top 10 favorites. Chicago So 2 Years Ago and The Patron Saint of Liars and Fakes. Bangers. And I mean, come on, when Pete Wentz is screaming in the crowd during Saturday at the end of a Fall Out Boy show, there's just nothing like it. It's a religious experience. Number 4, this is where things get truly very dicey for me because it's like I love all of these albums so much. Number 4, we're gonna say So Much for Stardust, which is their newest album that came out last year. Guys, I love this album. I really truly love this album. I think that it's the best album that they've made in 10 years, and it has great songs. Fake Out, Heaven, Iowa, What a Time to Be Alive. Not enough people are talking about that one. I really feel like they have found with this album, like they found their way back into their niche of like kind of weird rock music. They have so many different like inspirations and like genres that they take from, and I feel like it is really evident in this album and it all just works so well together. So that one like could move up with more time. Number 3, I'm gonna say Folly Do. Has what is maybe my favorite Fall Out Boy song, Coffees for Closers, on it, so love that. They did not get enough praise for this album. People were so harsh to it, and it is not deserving of that. It's also like it's similar to So Much for Stardust because it is like also weird, and they were doing a bunch of different things with it, and I really enjoy it. Number 2, I'm gonna say Infinity on High. Specifically the bonus tracks, GINASFS, and It's Hard to Say I Do and I Don't. Those are in my top 10. I mean, Thriller is a banger, Hum Hallelujah. Oh, there's so many good ones on that, and I think it's just a little bit more iconic than Folly. So that's number 2, and the number 1 is From Under the Cork Tree because 2005 was a good year for music, and I would not be a Fall Out Boy fan without Sugar We're Going Down. That was the song of theirs that I discovered and I listened to on repeat, and that's what started it all. So yeah, Get Busy Living, Get Busy Dying is also like a top 5 song for me. So that's the ranking. It really hurt me to try and do that, but for you I will. Those are all of the questions that we had. Thank you so much to everybody that asked me things in the community tab and on Instagram. That was fun. I hope that provided some insight into who I am as a reader and as a person. And yeah, feel free to like answer any of these questions in the comments if you feel strongly about one of them. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Ow.